I'd now like to welcome to the show three-time All-Pro, four-time Super Bowl champ, MVP of Super Bowl X, and all-decade selection for the 1970s Steelers and Hall of Famer Lynn Swann. Lynn, welcome to Talking Sports with the Bird. How you doing tonight?
I am doing fine, thank you, and it's a pleasure to be on. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Currently the AD at his alma mater, USC. We'll get into that a little bit later on because that was, thank God for the USC Penn State game, because all the bowl games up to that point left a lot to be desired. Now, the Clemson game was a great final, but the game you guys with USC and Penn State was awesome.
Oh, thank you. And, I'm glad that USC came out on top in a very, very difficult football game. But, the interesting thing about those games is that 100% of the people in that stadium at one time or another felt like, okay, we're going to win, and my team's going to win. Even those people who might have bet on the game at one point thought, I've got it covered, only to find out they didn't have it covered, that, 101 points were going to be scored, and there would be no time left on the clock when the game was decided. It was an exciting, brilliant football game.
Without a doubt. And your thoughts on Super Bowl 51? I mean, you talk about an exciting, brilliant football game, monumental comeback by the New England Patriots, scoring 31. I read the stat. I think the record was 10 points was done 3 times as a comeback in the Super Bowl. And for the Patriots to score 31 consecutive points was mind-boggling. What were your thoughts about it as you were watching?
Well, I just thought that it was too much success for Atlanta in the ball game. If they had to struggle a little bit more and the game was a little tighter, I think they would have come out and been a different team. Even with that, there are little things when we talk about having experience in ball games and big ball games that players just didn't think of, or coaches just didn't remind the players of. If you had told Matt Ryan, if somebody called a timeout, pulled Matt Ryan to the sideline and says, look, we want to try and get in. Make sure you throw the ball away. If you're not going to get in, don't take a sack. We'll kick the field goal. The game would have had a different outcome just in that one series alone. So a lot of times in these big ball games, it's your communications about the little things that you need to remind players of.
Let me ask you a question. You listened to Hall of Famer Lynn Swann. Go back to that point that you just made, and I was kind of critical of Kyle Shanahan, and I know Atlanta had played offense like that all year. Dan Quinn is a rookie coach. I know Kyle Shanahan calls the plays. How does that work? Should Dan Quinn have walked over and said, hey, Kyle, I know you like to do what you do, but in this case, I'm managing the game. We're running the ball 3 times, even if we take a knee and kick the field goal. Whose job is that to do that to who?
It doesn't matter whether you decide to run the 3 plays or, and be conservative, or if you call plays and you're trying to get the end zone. The key here is don't take a sack, throw the ball away. If it's not there right away, don't take a chance. Okay? The little things. You got to give credit to other teams that are going to have players who make plays, and maybe one of your guys makes a mistake or something like that. But, it's just the fundamental things. Is, look, we're going to go for it. We're going to go for a touchdown. We're going to try and win this ball game. We're not going to settle for a field goal. But we're going to throw the ball away if it's not there, drop back, look if it's not there, get rid of it, and that's it. That kind of communication, that kind of acknowledgement of it may not work, just don't lose yardage, can make the difference in that series.
What's your feeling on, I had Jerry Rice on last week, and he basically said that, I said Brady Belichick, he says they have to be the best coach quarterback of all time. Obviously, they win one more. Now, you had Chuck Noll, Terry Bradshaw. There's Vince Lombardi, Bart Starr. In your opinion, who's the best tandem that you've ever seen?
Oh, I would never try and pick the best tandem. I'd just say that, certainly in the 2000s, this century, I think that, they've had the best success. Montana and Bill Walsh would be a combination. I say we're extraordinarily successful. Yes, Chuck Noll and Bradshaw. Yes, Lombardi and Bart Starr. But, I think you have to say, because the game has changed, who's the best in the game now? And would you hold Brady up against Bart Starr? Would you hold Brady up against anybody else? Absolutely. But, to say definitively, this is the best, I think it's a little hard with how the game changes.
The one thing people say is what they're doing in the free agency era where you can't keep teams together, what Brady and what Belichick has done is amazing. And I look at it the other way. I'm like, you know what? If they can't keep your players together, then how good really are the teams that they're beating? I go back to your 4 teams on the Super Bowl. You beat Minnesota. How many Hall of Famers stayed together on that team? You beat the Cowboys twice. Same thing. How great were those teams? You beat the Rams. Those teams back then kept their players together. So to get through that minefield of you guys winning 4 out of 6 in the 70s with other great teams, I put more stock into that than what he's doing, than what he's doing now. Not to take away anything from Belichick, but I think you have to look at it, how many great teams there were back then, and it's not the same now.
I think you can argue it either way. I would take the talent we had on the team for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and if all things were equal, if we had 4 years of a great training program, collegiate training program, and the science of sport they have today, I think our football team would be even better. And I'd match them up against anybody. But that's my point. You can't compare what we did in the 70s to what they're doing in 2016, 2017. And so either one is difficult. I mean, Belichick is an amazing coach. To be able to go out and find players you can plug in and make that system work. Brady, the unifying factor offensively. It's an amazing accomplishment. And so I give him all the credit in the world for being able to make that work. He's playing the game according to how it's structured today, not how it's structured yesterday or how it may be structured tomorrow.
Speaking of Hall of Famer Lynn Swann, I want to go back to your youth, and you had a funny story. You're the youngest of 3. You have 2 older brothers. Now, your mom and dad, somebody wanted the 3rd kid. The other one didn't want the 3rd kid. Somebody wanted a girl. Someone didn't want a girl. And it goes very well into your name, how you came up with your name. So tell that story. It's pretty funny.
It's a joke. It's not really the truth. But I have fun with it from time to time. But my mom was hoping to have a girl. She didn't. And I always say they named me Lynn anyway. But the truth is, I was born in Alcoa, Tennessee. And the doctor who delivered my 2 other brothers, his name was Dr. Lynn F. Curtis. And so my mother named me Lynn Curtis Swann.
Okay. Now, your mom was very integral early. She basically instilled in you never to quit. She also didn't want you to play football at a young age. I mentioned Jerry Rice, and he had a similar mom that didn't want him to play football at a young age. Talk about your mom, the influence she had on you, and the fact that she put you into the ballet class. How much did your success in football start with your mom putting you into ballet and the grace you learned from ballet?
Well, I mean, I think there are a lot of things that go into it, but absolutely. My mom decided to put me in a dance class when I was in the 4th grade. And I think having that kind of instruction, learning that kind of balance and body control was advantageous for me as I played football and basketball. That sense of rhythm that dance gives you, the end of one movement to the beginning of the next. Using your body in a different way than you normally use it in a football game, just running a pass route. So all of those things, I think, were learned techniques and traits that I was able to employ on the football field, which, helped me out greatly. So I give my mom that credit.
You mentioned USC and the fact that you're the athletic director there now, but growing up, you never thought pro football was an option. And when you went to USC, talk about that decision to go to USC.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest guy in the world. I mean, I'm a small guy, but I went to USC because, I felt comfortable there. And I thought it would be a great place for me to be in school, not because of football. I never thought I'd be a professional football player or have a chance to play or even consider it until my senior year in college. And then after that, it was a matter of, okay, who's going to draft me, where and how and why. And I was fortunate to be drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers. So, that was it. I mean, I think life is a process. You train, you get an education, you're working towards things, you set yourself up to be able to take advantage of opportunities if those opportunities are presented. And they were presented to me in terms of being drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers after playing at USC. And so it worked out. I mean, I certainly can't take credit for it. It's a draft. A lot of teams say they're going to draft you, and they didn't. Dallas said they're going to draft me, they didn't. San Francisco said they were going to draft me, they didn't. The Rams said they were going to draft me, they didn't. Pittsburgh drafted me, and I think I look good in black and
the rest is history. If you permit me a couple of minutes to listen to this clip, because there's a lot of Steeler fans up here. When I put it out on Facebook that you were going to be on, people go nuts. They couldn't wait to hear. But just permit me a couple of minutes for them to listen to this video, because they're going to get this audio. They'll get all fired up, and I want to ask you about the Pittsburgh Dynasty. Give me a couple minutes.
Being inducted in his first year of eligibility, welcome Jack Lambert. Here's Joe Green. Here is Mel Blount. Here's Terry Bradshaw. Chuck Noll.
What I wouldn't give right now, my friend, your number 32, and forever the immaculate Franco Harris.
And I'd like to thank you, Lynn Swann, and I look forward to the day that you will be immortalized.
Please help me to bring forward one of the greatest wide receivers to ever play the game, my friend, Lynn Swann.
If this is the greatest hour of my life, then I would tell you at this moment, this is only a half hour. It'll be the greatest hour when I can stand and sit in that back row and John Stallworth is wearing a gold jacket making this speech.
And I say to Lynn here today, I'm more than happy to complete that hour for him.
If I could start my life all over again, I would be a professional football player.
I can't tell you how much you can gain, how much progress you can make by working together as a team, by helping one another. You get much more done that way. And if there's anything the Steelers of the 70s epitomized, I think it's that teamwork.
That brings back so many memories. I'm sure it does for you too, Lynn. The last person you heard was Chuck Noll.
Yes.
And
when I heard it, I have to tell you, when I heard it, I agree with him. The team epitomizes everything we did. When you listen to the short clips you just played of Pittsburgh Steelers, it was handing a baton from one to the other, appreciating the value of the differences that we all bring, but the commonality of playing for a team and one particular goal to be the very best, to win. Sacrificing part of your individual talent, sacrificing to make the team work so that the team wins and everybody rises with it. Chuck was a great teacher. And that lesson I think we have all learned and we continue to employ every day of our lives in our life's work, as Chuck would say, after leaving professional football.
It's amazing. When you talk that you were the 21st pick in the first round, 1974, people out there, we get on Jerry Reese for the Giants for not drafted well, blah, blah, blah. People out there, John Stallworth, Lynn Swann, Mike Webster, Jack Lambert, all in the same draft class is absolutely incredible in 1974. The fraternity you guys had, I want to talk about some of the Super Bowls and how much the game has changed, like you spoke about early. Super Bowl IX, Terry Bradshaw completed 9 passes in that game. And I just read where Tom Brady was 16 for 21 in the fourth quarter alone of this past Super Bowl. It's really amazing when you think how much the game has changed.
Well, the game always changes. And, the fact that we only threw 9 passes in Super Bowl IX, I was begging Terry to throw me a play-action pass because they were so keyed on Franco that they were just ignoring me in terms of a pass route. But it didn't happen. So like I said earlier, the game changes. You can't compare one to the other. Team trying to win the Super Bowl and playing from behind, may throw the, will probably more than likely have to throw the ball more as New England did and moved it down the field. But they also ran to use up the clock a little bit. But it's an amazing game, and it's adapted to the time and adapted to the demands of what the game should be and what the game has to be to protect players and to have it last a lot longer.
Super Bowl 10, you listen to Lynn Swann. You're the MVP of Super Bowl 10. Now, I'm a Raider fan. I'm a silver and black guy, so listening to Franco...
You sound like Howard Slusher, my old attorney.
Oh, I do? Okay, but I don't have that kind of money. But listen, I'm a silver and black guy, so anytime I hear Franco Harris, it annoys me. But in Super Bowl 10, you were the MVP, conference championship game against the Raiders. You took a hit by George Atkinson, one of my favorite players, and there was a chance that you might not make the Super Bowl. But there was some remarks made by a Dallas Cowboys safety, Cliff Harris, that got you to play that Super Bowl game. Talk about that.
Well, I got fired up. Cliff Harris said that if I thought I got hit hard against the Raiders, if I came into the game on Sunday, he was going to be a little tougher on me than that, and that I shouldn't take the field. And I just took that as a challenge, and so I stepped up to the plate and played the game. I was cleared by the doctors. I felt good, although I had a horrible week of practice. And then, again, like you were talking about the difference in number of passes, Bradshaw threw 5 passes my way. I caught 4 of them, and 1 was for a touchdown. It made the difference in the ball game. So, you get inspired. Someone motivates you. Someone challenges you. Whatever it takes sometimes, to get you on that field, to get you to play up just a little bit more.
You're hurt. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I can't be on much longer, especially now that you've told me that you're a Raider fan.
Yeah, but you guys won all the games. You shouldn't be upset at me. You guys have all the rings. We only got 1 in the 70s.
I'm not upset with you. I'm just questioning your judgment.
Listening to Hall of Famer Lynn Swann. I want to go back a couple more for you. The changes in the game, and you heard Franco Harris say he was going to enjoy the day where you were finally up there to get your gold jacket, and John Stallworth followed right after. Talk about again the changes of the game. You played 9 years and had 336 catches. You're looking at 40 catches a year. No one denies you were a Hall of Fame player, but just think about that: 40 catches a year, and guys today are it's 100 a year. So my question to you is, you kind of waited a long time to get in the Hall of Fame. Do you think it was those numbers, or do you think there was so many other Steelers that got in, kind of like a Phil Rizzuto thing, that hurt you a little bit?
Well, it could have been a little bit of both. You go into the Hall of Fame for a lot of different reasons. It's not always because you have the greatest stats in the world. It could be because of longevity. Bob Hayes didn't play that long. A lot of, Gil Sayers didn't play that long. But what was his impact on the game? He brought something that was unique and different to the game, Gil Sayers did, that no one else did. Bob Hayes forced defenses to to change how they covered people with his kind of speed, and we saw the creation of zone defenses as a result. Guys like Bob Hayes. I like to think that the way I played the game of football and the way I performed in the most critical games, the big games, was different. Elevated the game in the position as a wide receiver, being the first wide receiver to be MVP of a Super Bowl. So I think, all those things weigh into it, and when you go in, you go in. So I'm happy, it took time. I'm happy the Hall of Fame was still there when they decided to put me in.
Right after your career, you started the broadcasting career. You were there for 30 years, and you played, when you were still playing, you had started your broadcasting career already. There's a lot of people that take hits on like a Brandon Marshall. Why are you inside the NFL when you're playing with the Jets? What's your feel about so many athletes today promoting their brand and getting on? You're seeing Josh Norman, you're seeing Odell Beckham in the pregame show. What's your feel about that, guys in the media and playing at the same time?
Well, I think it's just a matter of preparing for that day when you exit. My biggest concern for professional athletes today are the guys who make a lot of money and don't hang on to it. But even if they hang on to the money, they finish their career, they're done. They're in their mid-30s, maybe, Tom Brady, late 30s, and then they quit. They retire. Football's over. And what gets them up in the morning? What are they prepared to do? Okay, and so I think this training, if they want to be in sports, they want to be in media, I think it's good. I think it gets them ready for that time when they're not playing the game. Now they can talk about the game, or they can work in another business around the game, or work in any other business. There are a lot of guys who are professional athletes. They're not broadcasters, but they're working in the business of the sport. Michael Jordan never broadcasted anything, but doesn't have to. He works at it with Nike and the contract and kind of moving those things forward in terms of business. Magic Johnson in sports business, not being a commentator, he's done some, but he's really made his mark as a businessman because he started working in that arena while he was still playing the game.
Listen to Hall of Famer Lynn Swann. You ran for governor as a Republican in Pennsylvania in 2006 against Ed Randell, the incumbent. What did you learn from running? What did you learn about yourself, and what did you learn about the whole political process when you ran for governor in 2006?
Well, I mean, there's a lot to learn. I mean, number one, in terms of the state of Pennsylvania, you learn more about the governance and laws and how it operates. You learn that campaigning is totally different from governing. One doesn't equate to the other. So there's lots of learning that goes in. What I learned about myself is that I'm resilient. I can adapt. I can change. I can move forward. I can listen to a number of people, synthesize the information, and pull together what I hope is a better plan after getting all the information, which I think are good leadership traits. So I learned those things about myself. And as I kind of close here today, because my wife is waiting for me to have dinner,
all right.
I think those are the things that led me and allowed me to work and hopefully progress and continue to grow as an athletic director at the University of Southern California. Best qualities of leadership is being able to listen to other people and then make a decision.
Last one will get you out of here. There's a tournament coming up in 2 months at the Masters. You're a member at Augusta. Another thing that makes me jealous because you got 4 Super Bowl rings and we only got 1. Talk about you being a member at Augusta. Do you play a lot of golf? How is your golf game going? And what do you think the future of Tiger Woods is in terms of winning other tournaments?
Well, that's a whole bunch of questions rolled into one. I enjoy playing the game of golf. I just stepped off as an independent director for the PGA of America, which I enjoyed being a part of for the last 3 years. Go Jim Furyk, captain. And so I try and play as much as I can. Men's and women's golf reports to me at USC, and I hope to help them grow and win a national championship. One of the greatest sporting events in the world is the Masters. And I look forward to being there and watching the Masters and watching Tiger come back and attempt to play and do his best.
Lynn Swann, I really appreciate all your time. Tell your wife I'm sorry I kept you for dinner. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Bring me back to like the 70s, even though I was on the losing end of the majority of those games. But thanks for sharing all those great memories, and best of luck with your future at USC as the athletic director.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Take care. You too.